Greetings, terrestrials, and welcome one and all. Today is September 16th, 2021, and these are some strange times indeed. You're watching, of course, Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, the Czar of the Bizaare, right here on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight. Oh boy, the hair's not behaving, but nobody's watching yet, so we got a little chance to fix it. All right, everybody, here's the deal. Tonight is the night we are watching The Matrix, the very first film in the Matrix trilogy and soon to be quadrilogy of movies, of motion pictures, of all that fun stuff. This incredible science fiction world of The Matrix, which we are about to explore on the program tonight. Right here as we watch together The Matrix, 1999. So we are all, of course, gathering here to do that. Let's give some folks a little bit of time to get their notifications in and join us here on the program. If you're tuning in, if you're watching The Matrix with us, go ahead and drop something in the chat. Let us know how we're doing. Steven, you're watching The Matrix with us, of course. Yes? All right, well, okay, folks. It's Matrix night on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. But first, before we get into it, I've got to say, hey there, hadn't heard, but I am excited. Ooh, welcome. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's how we do the watch parties on the show. We'll explain this a few times, but here's we go for the first person who's here. Here's what we're gonna do. We've got The Matrix all queued up on HBO Max on this. You might have it on HBO Max on your thing, or maybe you own it on DVD or on whatever other service that you use. You can listen to it or you can watch the film that way. And what's going to happen is I'm going to put on headphones. I'm going to count down from 5 and we'll all hit play at the same time. You can type along in the chat and I will provide thrilling commentary as we go through the movie. And of course, Steven will be applying the time code right here, so you'll know just how long we've been watching the film. You make sure you're in the right spot. Isn't that great? Steven, how are you? Are you excited to watch the 1999 film, The Matrix?
I'm extremely excited. You know, I consider The Matrix, no extra title. The Matrix, that movie is the movie, And what's great is I'm part of a Slack team. There's a business Slack, and we do some tech stuff on doing this other thing. And one of the emotes that you can reply is all the numbers sliding down.
Ooh, an iconic image. Recently, an iconic science fiction image.
This week, I started replying with that little emote, which pretty much means like, if I know what these numbers mean, man, I know a lot of stuff and I'm on top of it.
Or science fact. I said science fiction, but here we go in the chat. Mr. C. Dolson says, or science fact. What do you think, Steven? Do you think we're living in the Matrix? Are we living in a simulated world?
That's a great question. Or science fact. Are we living in the Matrix? It's such a good question that this film will keep you asking.
Many scholars have pondered this question ever since the release of this film. They've said, could we be living in a simulation? Now that it's been thought up, maybe it's a real thing. And so there it is, folks. If you're just joining us, it's Matrix night on Strange Times Indeed. We're going to be having a watch party for the first Matrix film, 1999, the timeless science fiction or science fact classic. We'll be watching it together. We'll be counting down. It's streaming on HBO Max, but you probably own it on DVD. And a classic film.
I think my parents own it on VHS. My mother probably owns it on VHS.
Oh, well, congratulations to your parents, Steven. They have a
that
fine
much of a classic
VHS collection.
But they do.
Now, before we get into the film, let's go over some quick plugs. If you're watching Strange times indeed here on twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night. Then you must love a little bit of comedy in your life. And if you love that, you're going to love this. Met Comedy Night, the place right here where you can find Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, is going to be streaming the Met Comedy Night live show programming on Friday nights at 8:30. The live show happening live at the Maryland Ensemble Theater in front of a live and in-person audience will also be provided here, right here, on twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night, free for you. That's right, it's free, which makes it extra accessible. Not only can anyone watch it because there's no price point other than whatever you have to pay for the internet, but also, get this, if you're afraid to go out because there's a pandemic, you can watch it right here. Steven, yes, you got that bronze medal for it. So tune in right here tomorrow night at 8:30. You can catch the Comedy Pigs performing live from the Maryland Ensemble Theater, or go to the Maryland Ensemble Theater, drop $15 and see it in person. What a treat that would be. And by the way, folks, this just past weekend, I went to the Bizaare down in Flatwoods, West Virginia, celebrating the 69th anniversary of the sighting of the Flatwoods Monster. Got myself a t-shirt there. I went down there, helped out with the American Snallygaster Museum. Was a great time, an absolute thrill. We had a wonderful, wonderful time down there in Flatwoods with the group of us. And I even picked up, get this, in the town of Flatwoods, where Braxy was sighted, the year of this sighting, they started making these. They started making these ceramic lanterns. Bing! And there you go. They only make a couple every year, so it's a limited amount. But they do make them as a fundraiser for the town. And so, I mean, how could you not? I knew if I did not go home with one of these, I was going to regret that.
Very cool.
A fun piece of cryptid paraphernalia. So a big shout out to the town of Flatwoods, Braxton, and Braxy and the Flatwoods Monster. And of course, my friends from the Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls podcast. And the American Snallygaster Museum, and everybody I met down there. An incredible fun time. I had a blast. Let's do it again. I think we're going to try to go to CryptidCon in November down in Kentucky, or to see if we can't make that work. I think that would be a very fun time. All right, let's see. All right, it's 9:10, so I'm assuming everybody who's with us is joining us for the Matrix. So everybody, let's take a moment, get in the zone. Take you back to the year 1998. You had no idea that we could be living in a simulation. You were just enjoying the 90s peacefully and quietly. Give yourself a little head massage before the film. Ooh, yes. Do you feel that little bump in the back of your head? Do you feel a little bump back there? Yeah. That's where the hole is. That's where the hole is outside of the real world. So we're going to jack into that hole and watch The Matrix, everybody. Go ahead, we're going to do it together. Hop over to HBO Max, get that DVD player ready. It's time. Oh, this might work. You might be able to just watch the
Or if you happen to own The Matrix on VHS, please boot that up. Maybe blow the dust out of the machine first.
Hopefully you rewound before tonight's program.
Yeah, we'll wait for an extra 15 seconds right now for a rewind.
There you go. That's an extra fast one. All right, here we go, everybody. It's time. We're starting The Matrix. We're watching The Matrix together here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. And we're going to watch one Matrix movie a month until the new one comes out. So in October, we're watching The Matrix 2. We're watching The Matrix Reloaded. And in November, we're watching The Matrix Revolutions. And in December, when Matrix Resurrections comes out, we're going to watch it. We're going to have we'll probably have a little meetup. We'll go watch it in the theater quietly. And then a week later, we'll watch it here and I'll talk while we're watching it because it's going to be on HBO then too. So there we go. It'll be a thrill, a blast. 4 months and 4 Matrixes right here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. What other What other paranormal show is giving you this kind of, I don't know, a week to take a break and just watch a movie? Hey, any other week from this one, call in, share your paranormal stories right here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Typically, we'll open up the Zoom room for you to give us a listen and share your stories and tell us what you've experienced out there in the world. But tonight, we're kicking back. We're watching The Matrix. It's movie night, Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Get ready, everybody. I hope you've got it queued up on your machines. I hope you're ready to go because we are going to be starting The Matrix, a classic science fiction film from the Wachowski sisters in the year 1999. All right. Are you ready to jack in, Mr. Anderson? Beginning the film in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, if you're synced up properly, what you're going to see is the Warner Brothers logo. It's the Warner Brothers logo that it's been for quite some time, except, which is to say, not the ugly new one, but it's green because we're in The Matrix.
I had an ad that I had to skip, so I might be slightly behind you, but
Oh no.
I skipped that ad. I was trying to unplug from
Oh
whatever
yes,
they were
if
trying to
there's
tell
an
me.
ad. Ooh, if there was an ad, folks, if there was too much of an ad, I'll let you know. We are currently 48 seconds into the film. So if you get past that, you can probably skip right past that Warner Brothers logo. I'm at 57 seconds, Steven. Okay. This is what the inside of a computer looks like. Great start to a film when you don't really know where it is, what's exactly going on, or who's involved. That brief moment before we've met any of the characters. Oh, well, look at that. How nice of her. She's complying with orders. If you're just joining us, we're watching The Matrix. We are 2 minutes and 47 seconds into the film. I like this film so much. I haven't even said that much already. But good God, do I love Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith. I think just an iconic character. Look at this. Oh, here we go. All of a sudden, the switch has been flipped. Boom. Could you imagine being able to kick a chair with that kind of accuracy? See, everyone needs a Morpheus in their lives. Like, of course, Trinity can make this. It's Trinity. Getting away from these agents should be no big deal. sometimes you just need your Morpheus there to cheer you on. Now, what you might not know is that The Matrix is the story of the Bible. That was the thing I was taught. We went to a church retreat and we got to watch clips of The Matrix, but we didn't get to watch the actual film. And they were like, here's how it's the story of Christ, which is really just kind of like a narrative tool at this point. You know, I don't think it necessarily validates any religion that there are similarities between an ancient story and one that has been turned into a film about how we're living in a simulation. Build a church around that. Can we talk about how this is also a trans allegory? Yes, absolutely. I really went really skipped over it, pulling from a weird memory from my middle school years, when in actuality, this is much more the relevant story and pull about the Matrix, as opposed to the Christ allegory. The name thing is huge, like Neo being called Mr. Anderson. Yes, not well. You could easily get into both in the chat. Oh, later on gave me chills when I was watching it with what producer Kevin said last year. Oh, I wonder what it was. There is a thing. So one of the characters that we are going to meet, speaking of the trans allegory in the Matrix, there was a character in the first film whose name is Switch. And this character's thing was that in the Matrix, they were, I think, a woman, but in the real world, they were a man. And it's like, well, it doesn't get any more obvious than that. But then they made a change and they were like, nah, it's got to be the same. You can't do that kind of subtle storytelling here. We're the Warner Brothers. It's only 1999. We can't acknowledge that through the lens of science fiction yet. Look at that sleepy little baby. He's got this great program set up here on his computer that automatically scrolls through news stories, so he doesn't have to scroll when he reads. And they'll just do that all day, and they'll just assume that he's there, because computers don't really know what you're doing. They're just computers. They're just computers, and we're not living in a simulation. We're just watching a movie about it. It's not a real thing. Oh, the White Rabbit. Steven, you were just there for dinner today, I think. You just won a bronze medal at the White Rabbit.
I was at the White Rabbit. I went there.
Mm-hmm.
Compete. I'm on the podium.
You're a winner. But did you get any clues in the Matrix? Did anybody tell you to go to the White Rabbit?
I was looking at a phone, saw an ad on Instagram. I need to join the competition, and you get to have the beer for free, a whole stein that you had to hold out like this.
Wow. Well, congratulations to you. I think that you got to retheme that to be a Matrix bar. You should use your winnings. Use your winnings as a bronze medalist and buy it from them.
Interestingly enough, some of the recent merch has like a White Rabbit on. Follow someone that works there to work. Who knows?
Wait,
what happens after that?
Steven, a White Rabbit on the shoulder? Like
back shoulder.
On the back shoulder? You mean like at some point in the next 30 seconds in the movie. Wait for it. Have you ever done mescaline? A bold question to ask on the air. Here we go. Get ready, Steven. It's coming, just like what you said. Wait, and then see. Oh, this is the Slam in the Back of My Dracula song. Yes. If there's anything we love, it's Munster's horror metal. Rob Zombie is making a Munsters film, and you know what? I'm very excited.
So we saw the rabbit on the tattooed rabbit on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty epic.
Epic. There's another trans allegory right there. That little line exchange right there. Rob Zombie's new Halloween looks rad. Is he doing the new Halloween? I thought that was David Gordon Green is doing the current run of Halloweens. He's the director who did Pineapple Express and other films. Ooh. How is he not like if this happened to me, I'd be like, boy. This is a very intimate like discussion. She is like touching the side of his head with her head. This is a very close conversation for two people who just met, even if they have the eternal bond of being hackers.
It's intimate, but I would probably
Sorry, Steven. Say that again.
It's intimate, but
yes,
I would probably let her tell me whatever she needed to tell me.
Yes. That's that's carrying. Oh, you went away. He is like so pale. Like Neo, prior to becoming Neo, is like Rob Pattinson in the Twilight films pale. That's the color scheme. That's the color scheme that the cinematographer kind of uses in the Twilight films. Is a little bit of that like matrixy, like it's a little more blue, but it's still kind of like, I think it's in the same world. Wow, now that's good phone service. You know, this scene happened and every cell phone company wanted to turn it into a commercial.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you hear me, Neo? You're using AT&T. Yes. Everyone needs someone calm and collected like Morpheus in their corner. They're like, if he's not in his cubicle, where else could he be? But he's got something that knows the outside of the algorithm. They don't think to look there because they would not algorithmically predict that he would behave this way. Because after all, the agents are just programs. Even if people in the Matrix have free will, the agents are still withheld by the bounds of their own artificial intelligence. The only reason that Neo can escape this and get rid of them is because Morpheus is acting outside of the Matrix. He knows the ins and outs of it, and he can get Neo to break out of the typical behavior things. Look, there are two ways out of this building. This is crazy. They would never think he would go out there. Maybe I'm misremembering how this scene ends. However, either way, it would be unpredictable for him to go over into the cubicle right behind him. So they do not think to look there. They don't have any reason to think that he would be looking for them. A Nokia. There you go. There's that product placement right there. Someone walks down the street and like picks it up later in a commercial. Ooh. Hugo Weaving is so good. Okay, now this screen is a good callback, or I guess the scene in the architect's room in the second film, the pan out on all those screens is a good reverse of what we just saw there. Great thematic continuation in the film series. I'm jumping ahead, of course. But if you know, you know. And if you don't, you'll know next month. Maybe the tint on these sunglasses may have me misseeing just how pale he was in the movie. But I stand by it. Like that's the great thing is the Matrix is also, it's kind of silly. Like they let Agent Smith also just be a little silly as a villain. And you help your landlady take out her garbage. I've also have to do the glasses swap. Ooh. These are great sunglasses, but they're tiny, they're small. They will just, you wear them too long, your head will explode. They can't go through the DSL lines anymore, but they do have FiOS. Yes, I wonder. Well, I guess the advances in technology, there will always be a way to get in and out of the matrix. That sounds like a really good deal, but I ain't no snitch. This is fantastic. I think that's like mostly practicals, but then that one shot where he opens his mouth is CG, and it holds up. Like all of the computer animation in these films hold up pretty well. Okay, get ready. Now, what's curious is we do see somebody's mouth getting shut in this manner in the Matrix 4 trailer. So very curious to see the context in which that happens. Oh. Keanu's got hairy nipples, and you know, if that works for him, great. But let me give you a little life secret, friends. If you got hairy nipples and you don't think that's appealing, you can just shave that off. Free yourselves from the binds of hairy nips. Okay. Stalker much? It's that woman from the club who close talked to him. That switch.
Was this where that phrase become popular?
Which
Our way
way?
or the highway?
I don't think so. I think that phrase way predated the Matrix.
Okay, because like that, watching this film as a very young person, I might have been like, wait a minute. This might have been the first time I heard it.
This is the first time anyone said this is my way or the highway. I think it's my way or the highway probably has existed as long as highways have. You know, you probably got one housewife who's a little upset with her husband, and it begins, he's always making the rules. It's I swear with him it's either his way or the highway. And thus it was born.
I'm convinced.
1952, same year as the Flatwoods Monster was sighted, the birth of My Way or the Highway. Lots of rain in the Matrix, very similar to the raining code. You can see the themes, they're in there visually. The theme of rain. Morpheus, of course, played by the iconic Lawrence Fishburne, who played Cowboy Curtis at Pee-wee's Playhouse. See, if everyone who thinks we're living in a simulation like the Matrix, clearly somebody would come. Like, I don't know. There just seems to be a group that is like, oh, you believe? Well, you get to leave then. We have found you because you believe it so strongly. So where are those people? Either these people don't believe enough, Ominously timed lightning there. So what's happening here is basically, it's like when you drink that like MRI fluid, but what it's doing is disrupting the electrical signals that his body sends out into the machines. And it's going to send a kind of a little signal out that they can then track and trace and find him in the real world. Ooh, imagine waking up like that. What is curious to me about the Matrix is that they come out of the goo with no hair. That would their hair not grow in the goo? What is the this is one thing about the Matrix that has not been explained to me, and either it's in any form in the movie, or also in any form, given what I know of biology and robots. And that's, I don't understand why their hair doesn't grow. Now maybe they've genetically modified humans that way, except that wouldn't be the case, because as you see when they're out of the Matrix, their hair does grow. Like they're not all bald once they get out of there. That's the face of a man who's just had a very good time, and now a very bad time, and now he's in a Hellraiser movie, and he's being flushed down the toilet. Nair mixed in the goo, although realistically it could have some kind of an oil in the goo that clogs their pores and stunts their hair growth. Ah, that could make sense. It is a very thick goo. I find it very interesting how much naked and bald Keanu Reeves kind of looks like what I think a naked and bald Andy Samberg would look like. See, Trinity has hair, obviously. The hair will return. I have not. I've never seen them naked and bald in the same place. He's gonna need more acupuncture, Doc. It's sad every time he has to say that to somebody. They probably had a trial and error with that because I imagine in original humans' hair were so long, it got tangled up and messed with the battery function. Yes, and of course, if their hair is growing and they've got a little jack in the back of their head, that's gonna get all tangled up in there. If you've got long hair just floating in goo, it must make it much harder to remove. And robots are all about efficiency. They want to set things up so they don't have to clean. And as we all know, or as we all will learn, there have been many iterations of the Matrix. I think this is on I believe the 5th or 6th go around. That might be a second film plot point. That it's all in the same world. Here's my thing. The year is 2021. We're watching all the Matrix movies together. Some things might come up in reference to the other films because they've been out for forever. No, it's in the first grade. I feel like that might be an architect thing that pops up, but maybe Morpheus mentions it. There's a D in Nebuchadnezzar? Switch. Switch is the one I was telling us all about. The little one behind you is Mouse. We named him Mouse because he's little. He's little and he hides in the corners like a little mouse. We call him Mouse. I bet it's like when it's in there, it's like static until you load in the software. That's probably what it feels like. And then you hit the thing and you just load that big empty space and it clears it up. There's absolutely no sound in the room. We love a big white space. I wonder if this was done in anything in pop culture prior to this, other than the Looney Tunes cartoon where Daffy Duck gets in a fight with the animator. And this does not count ads for like computers. See, here's the thing. We can't quite get to the Matrix yet because, well, we haven't gotten dependent on solar power yet. I never noticed the lion head on the arms. I mean, maybe I have, but it didn't stick out to me on this watch. Oh, well, I suppose when the machines had artificial intelligence, they designed themselves to look like spiders because if they have artificial intelligence, they can just make more of them. I was like, why would we ever make big spider robots like this? Well, they wouldn't. The robots would. Ooh. All right, question in the chat. Do you think Morpheus's original character design included glasses that didn't have sides, or do you think that the costume designer made the choice because Lawrence Fishburne has a very wide head? I think it was probably part of the design. I mean, maybe they didn't know. I don't know. I don't know what, I mean, it was the 90s. It was the 90s. You could buy these glasses anywhere you wanted. So they probably had glasses like that without any sides and nobody wore them because they don't have sides. But they were like, in the Matrix, those would work. They would just float there on his little head because of the Matrix powers. Oh, okay. So there was a person in the Matrix who they picked. Everyone gets a little worn down sweater when you get out of the Matrix. You trying to say I'm the Jesus of your story? Is that what you're getting at, man?
I wonder what they would have done if he chose like if Jesus chose. I don't want to know what this is.
So if he chose the blue pill, I think by definition of the rules, they would have been like, well, he's not the one. We got it wrong, you know?
Huh. That's a fair point. I'll take it.
Yeah. If you can't, I think if you can't take the buy that something is off, then you're not ready to take that step. And if you're not ready to take that step, then you can't be the savior. He's not going to give Neo the basics.
Well, if he's really the savior, then does he need the basics?
Was that Steven?
If he's really the savior, does he need the basics?
That's true. He'll figure it out pretty quick.
He didn't take the blue pill, so they should be able to figure it out.
Yep. This next scene is rad, but I need more water. BRB. What? I've returned. All right, here we go. Kung Fu scene. Like what the Matrix has within itself is like a good balance of we're here and we're having fun. Also, we have this sci-fi world that we put a lot of thought into and a lot of rules. And you're going to get both. You're going to have the fun action fights, and you're going to have to sit and listen to the explanation of how this all works. And I love that. If you've ever watched the Wachowski sisters film Jupiter Ascending, It's a film that I think would have held up a lot better if it was a trilogy and not one film that they crammed a lot into. God, what's it like remembering filming a scene in just a movie and it turns into an iconic cinema moment? Yeah, especially one like this. I mean, I feel like some of these they probably knew. I think when they're doing the shoots, they're on the green screen and it's frozen and they got the whole rig around so they can do those shots. They had to be like, this is gonna look so cool. Or you're like, I guess in 1998 they're filming The Matrix. They're doing this stuff on a green screen. They're probably like, okay, I guess, you know, I guess this will work. Nobody else had really done that much like that before, I don't believe.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but like you can't grasp the magnitude of the cultural impact a project like this is going to have. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you've got to at this point on a mental level unlearn breathing. What a line. Don't think you are. No, you are. There you go. Put that one down on the gender chart. We need like a little tally board. Can somebody be keeping tallies in the chat? Somebody write this. Here we go. We'll keep it on the show notes. We're just gonna keep it a tally. Trans allegory tally. Which other ones have we got so far? We've got that line. We've got Switch as a character or a concept, even though it was not executed that way in the final film. I know there was another one earlier. We'll just put a tally for whatever it was. You can fly, that's one. No one's mind is that free. See, he can't free his mind. Trans people can fly. I think that's common knowledge. Is that not common knowledge? Even Trinity. Even the one. It is weird to think that the robots would not have figured out kind of a way to restart the mind if they have full control of the body. If you die in the Matrix, they can't just like keep harvesting your body but set you up on a new memory. They can, they can reset you in every other way. They can plug you into a whole made up world, but if you die in there, they're like, oh shit. You'd think we'd have better healthcare. You'd think that if we lived in a simulation based on us not dying, that we would have an actual functioning healthcare system and people would live a good long time, because the robot just has to keep us alive on the other end. I'm just saying, we're a long way from utopia. Not saying being in the Matrix is utopia, but we got to get universal health care, and we've got to get a better reliance, a serious reliance on solar power and renewable energy before we can get to the level in which we're living in a simulation. Ooh la la. Do you think the woman in the red dress knew that that would be an iconic moment when she was in the red dress? No, it's our little matrix. We call it tiny matrix. They move in and out. Okay, this answers a question for me that I've always had, and it's just very in there very subtly, is if an agent turns into you and then goes and leaves, does that person die? No, I think they just go back to being, and they forget that they were the program. Because here's an important thing to note about the agents in the Matrix, as they're defined in the first movie, is that they are programs, and they're singular programs. Each agent is its own program. He's explaining the rules, so I'm going to explain the other rules that are unsaid after this. A bad time to talk about the unspoken rules when they're establishing the real rules. So the agents are singular programs. They move in and out of other people, which is how they can travel, but they're not multiples. They're not copy and paste. There's just one of each. There's one Agent Smith, there's one Agent Johnson, there's one Agent Blake, there's one Agent Trevor. And they can go from person to person, but there's only one of them. They cannot multiply in this film. The Sentinels, the Sentinels, the Sentinels, the Sampambos, the Sampanderos, the Santils, the Sandalosables, the Subadus, the Seedleys, the Sentinels are some of my favorite robots. They're so creepy. I love them. Big space squids. All of the evil robots in these movies, like, even though not all of them are like Sentinels, like the harvesting ones and stuff, they're all pretty, very like H.R. Geiger-y. Here's my thing: is if they're sitting there like sitting completely still, I feel like the technology that we have in drones now, we would not have those in a Sentinel. I think a drone probably would pick them up. Unless they're just sitting in a powered down ship, not breathing, so they might be protected by the ship. So if the ship's not giving off any signals, then it's just like, well, let's hope everything is off and the robot cannot detect us.
Yeah, but couldn't they have infrared? Like, if they had infrared, they would be able to see heat signatures, like your actual body temperatures.
I wonder, but I think also these ships that they are in are like pretty thick. And I'm not sure if they have windows. Or because I also know
Okay.
that isn't there something weird like glass kind of prevents the heat signature from getting through?
I'll buy it.
Maybe. Although maybe because it's gotta go through a lens first, so maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how infrared works. I'm not a scientist. I host a Twitch show Thursdays at 9 o'clock right here on twitch.tv/Mac County Night. It's called Strange Times in Need with Cliff McAllister. Every week we take your calls to hear about the strange and unexplained, but this week we're watching The Matrix from 1999. Thinking to ourselves, why, oh, why didn't I take the blue pill? Well, I hope not. I hope you think I'm so glad I took the red pill and am watching The Matrix with Cliff McAllister. Mr. Reagan. There you go. Very gay. They made the secret bad guy in the movie. His last name is Reagan. I'll count that one as a trans allegory for hatred of Reagan. They really cranked up the sounds on the chewing on this scene. I gotta listen to Reagan chewing. Truly torture. Here's something that I love about the Matrix. You look at the crew on this ship, and it's pretty diverse. And I kind of love this the supporting cast of this film and the main cast. I mean, Keanu Reeves is Asian. A fairly diverse cast that I think was done pretty effortlessly, probably intentionally. And it's 1999, and we've been like begging people to make that kind of thing happen in movies. And here it's just like, look, there they are. See, like I feel like Mouse was probably just like some little weirdo living in the real world. And they were like, okay, guess you can come. You figured it out. Like he's just like a nice fella who's on the spectrum who lives in their ship. I don't know why that other guy has to be mean to him. Here it comes. Here it comes. He's about to brag about how horny he is on Maine. Our very own impulses, our need to have virtual reality sex in a computer. Mouse looks like Kristen Stewart. All right, well, I'll count that. Sure. There you go, 5. Like there's also stuff in this movie that's just like effortlessly cool. The rotating shot around the phone as it's going through the thing. You don't need to do this, but it sure is fun to watch. It's like, yes, we are getting into the Matrix. Here we are. Hello, we have landed. My dude in his leather pants. I think it's also interesting. I don't know what it says, but I think it is interesting that Switch's outfit is all white. I don't know if there's anything particular to note in there, but I think it's interesting that theirs stands out over the other characters. Everyone else who has a darker color. Maybe because it matches their hair. But were they Noodles, Neo? But they did. I don't know. I think I would argue that in a way they did happen if everybody's in it. Like you didn't do it physically, but if you do not know the difference, you're still having that experience. A positive spin on the Matrix. Like it's nice to do it physically. It sure is. The genes still exist. And I think the thing is, he's still having these interpersonal relationships with human beings who are real human beings. Now, yes, there are some programs in the mix, but the connections that he is making in the Matrix are as authentic as the ones that he is making with the people on the outside. I think the two could coexist, honestly. You know, I feel like maybe if the machines gave you a choice, then it'd be a more feasible system. I mean, ideally, no one has batteries for machines, but if there has to be a Matrix, and give people the freedom. It's clearly there are benefits to being in the Matrix. You can jump over buildings. What was that line from earlier? I'm going to write that down because I think it was good. I think it was don't think you are, know you are.
Oh, yes. I wrote that down in the chat.
Nice.
At a certain point.
the footage on the TV of the giant bunnies running down the street. What even is that? I wonder how machines mitigate touch starvation. I think if it's real in the computer, it's real in, I don't know. I bet you know, it's like if you have a wet dream. If you've ever had a wet dream, you probably know it. Certainly feels real in the dream. I think that's probably just, you know, they mitigate touch starvation by never letting you get touched in the first place. Yeah, it's interesting that like this child is not Neo. Well, well, you know what? I guess that makes sense. Psychic children would be considered to be ones that can manipulate the matrix. And when they let Neo in, they say, you can sit over here with the other potentials. These other children are also potentials to be the one. It's up to the, well, it's not really up to the Oracle to find them, because she said that Morpheus would find them. But they're all potentials. And if you can harness the matrix at that age and bend the spoon, because there is no spoon, see, she mentions the vase because as an oracle, she can see into the future, or can at least get a pretty good prediction on it. Now there's the thinker. She is a delight, and if I do remember correctly, I believe passed away between the first and the second films. They make a reference to her looking different in the second one, or perhaps in the third one, somewhere in the mix, I believe. And they're just like rewrote the program or something. There you go. There's another one. I think there's a lot of these lines that are, oh, you just know it. It feels like it resonates in a way where it's more than, oh, about being in love, you know? We'll mark that one down as well. The Oracle is like the old queer in your neighborhood who's like, look at you, little one. Well, we'll make a note to reflect on that line after the fact. We'll talk about that one during the credits. Gotta make sure the one has clean ears, yeah. Do you believe in you? Mm. Morpheus is like, don't tell me you're not the one.
Don't tell me I could die.
Right. Dang, that guy's got a poker face when he's sleeping. If this were a bad movie, they'd put a little record scratch in there. Oh no, they cut the phone lines. Oh, they're like, that sucks, but we're gonna give him the craziest guns you can. Like, if you're gonna go out in a gunfight, at least you have two giant guns that wrap around your entire hand. Like, that's the way you're gonna go. You're not even gonna feel those bullets hit you wearing something like that. I wonder if they shot that like laying down on their sides. I can't imagine for safety purposes they would have just built that vertically. For that shot, I think they must have been like laying down or something. Because everyone's propped up against the wall like that. Like, no way none of those hit him. Bubba busted. An incredibly good shot. My thing is, sometimes you see like villains in these movies shoot their guns and you think, do they not know? Like, do they not know how to do it? I just feel like using a gun to take a person's life has been proven to be very easy. So it's like when you've got two people standing in a door, like bam, 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 and against five guys with machine guns, there's a little part of my brain that's like, how? How are they that bad at it? This was 1999. It was before we fully realized the horror. You know, I think if we lived in a world controlled by machines, we probably would have stricter gun rules. Because that's just a threat to their battery source. We're really debunking the simulation tonight. See how those cops all had had the things. They didn't have guns. Maybe there is stricter gun rules in the Matrix. We don't see any civilians using guns other than people who have access to a mainframe that can create them. I'd be curious to pay closer attention to that. I think some of the cops probably do, but they seem to exercise a little better restraint in the Matrix than they do in reality. She's like, God, this guy will not get over his guilt about what is happening to Morpheus. He is the one. He's got to move past it. But it is his guilt that makes him the most human. Beep, beep, beep. See, and so I'm sure what the machines were like was like, we're going to capture you and you can go back. We'll give you a line back. We'll give you like a way to get back in. We'll get you to a hard line. Oh. Ooh, they got him bad. Okay, this movie is a little longer than I thought it was. It's 2 hours and 16 minutes, which is fine by me. We're gonna watch through to the end. But Steven, if you've got a dip at some point, that's, set an alarm or something.
I think I'm in it for the long haul.
Nice, nice. Where was I looking? Twitch. There it is. A visitor. Thank you. If this movie was made 10 years later, 12 years later, this guy would have been played by Bill Burr. And this guy's a villain who is a Bill Burr type, and that is transphobic. So that's a point there. See, what happens there, this is why you have to push eject on your computer before you remove your USB drive. That's what happens to drive, is you unplug it without hitting the eject button. Not like this. All right, Peter, a real one. See, this guy's a little sociopath. Blast him through the wall. There you go. Thank goodness. Here. Ooh. Oh, yep, here it is. Here's where they say there are multiple ones. This is where they're like, but see, even still, you can make an imperfect world and still at least give us good healthcare. Kind of a Buddhist concept that we are all suffering all the time in some degree. I think the architect talks about it more, but this is where they're like, yeah, we did it a few times, and you know, they both do it to different degrees. I think the architect is like, you've done this before specifically, like you have tried to reset it. Yeah, yes. Yep, you got it. We got it. We figured it out. Our time. The future is our time. They're trying to sync up his brain. They're hacking his brain, and once they can hack it get on the same wavelength, they can access whatever info they need. No. Mm-mm. We do have a choice. We could kill me. He talks very heavily with his like lower lip. I can't do it. Part of the brilliance of Hugo Weaving. Wait. He's got to break out of that whisper voice for something like this. You might as well call me Dave. This is Loco. We should get our Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls friends to put that on a shirt. Neo, this is Loco. Here we go. You don't speak at normal volume if you're going to kill your dad. Wait, he's going to kill his dad? Oh, you mean like, but if you're trying to stop somebody from killing your dad. I believe I'm a better friend.
Yeah, I think Tank said that Morpheus was a father, so there was an implication that maybe Morpheus was his dad
Or
somehow,
he's
and that's
he's like a
why.
father to them, I think.
Yeah,
You get a sense in the sequel films that there's a woman that Morpheus was involved with, but you don't necessarily get a sense, I think, that they've had a lasting relationship that has led to children. This is a eco-terrorism, or what is it? Eco-fascism belief set. Foreshadowing. This fantastic bit there. At this point in which the Matrix is just one singular film, is having Agent Smith talk about the human race being the virus, when ultimately what he becomes is a virus, and that's where he begins to break out of the rules of the agents. But we'll get to that in the second movie because it's easier to talk about when it's happening. He gets a different set of rules as a virus. This is where we get a sense that Agent Smith is a little different from the other mage agents. I wonder what Agent Smith kind of pictures as the alternative for whatever it is. It's a program. I'm sure that the Agent Smith knows that it is a program. And its end goal is to get out of the matrix, or to make it so that it does not need to exist. And by getting rid of everybody who lives outside of the matrix, there's no purpose for Agent Smith to be in the matrix, a place that he hates. Like, these guys have guns, but they're security guys in the building that the agents are in. That kind of makes sense to me. I'm just wondering what the gun control laws in the Matrix are. Because the Matrix just kind of has a set of places of being like the highway and the city. Those are the two worlds that we encounter in the Matrix films. And a few others, obviously. Of course, there's the whole world. But they don't tie it. It's not specifically like we are in New York, we are in a thing. there's not a specific city that the Matrix is supposed to be happening other than the city. And when you live in a simulation, does it matter what the city is? The Matrix happens in whatever city you call home. The city you relate to the most, that's the city on screen. Killer move. Again, it's like really hard to shoot somebody, I guess. Like the beauty of this scene is really part of what makes it look so cool. Is like they're missing a lot. So there's a lot of carnage. There's a lot of like damage happening. And they got to use this song, which would become an iconic song anytime somebody wanted to use slow motion in a movie from then on. Gotta get that bag. Yeah. Oh, it's a bomb. A plot you can have in a movie based in a city when you make your movie in 1999. If there's anything about the human spirit, it's its resiliency. Hot. There's no elevator. What is always curious to me about this is, well, I don't know, maybe buildings are just kind of sturdy that way. I feel like if you drop a bomb on the first floor of a building, would the building not collapse a little bit? Woo! Right in the brain. Ah, the liquid speed of bullet time. Ooh. Everyone remembers the iconic shot, but people always forget that he actually gets shot in that scene. I like how they both have competing like one-up lines. Yeah, and then you turn back into another person. So that does kind of answer the question. What happens if you go through an agent? But one could assume that because he died, the agent got beamed out of there.
Well, that agent might have also died.
What was that?
That agent must have also died because, like, if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life. So that program probably also died.
Yeah, I would think it's either something like that or it just kind of resets. I think it depends, because I think what we see happen with Agent Smith is a special case. Might not be as pertinent with the other agents. I mean, it's like, yeah, she did kill an agent. It's dead. I'm not sure, because the body transfers back into the original human being that it was before. Here we are. We've got more water, just the constant down of the matrix streams. Great music here. Morpheus is so crazy good at being in the Matrix. This is he can just if at the right moment, he can just unsync his brain from their machines and bust through that thing. That's how good his brain is. Gosh, everybody's getting it in the leg. Oh. Neo out here doing everything, making them choices. He's like, I'm not going to let this man die, not on my watch. They actually let Carrie-Anne Moss fly the helicopter in this scene. That's not true. Oh, I guess it probably was like a radio tower or something. I was like, did they fly over a little Eiffel Tower in there? It's so much the city. It could maybe be France. Paris. The Matrix. Ah, a soft rooftop. He's like, I'm still tethered. Trinity, she's lost track of how to fly the plane. He's just gonna like whip it back in. Like, it would be great if he could use his Matrix powers to just like whoop and then like disconnect the helicopter from reality, and it like flies up in the air, lands safely. He could probably do that in the sequel if he wanted. Here's what I do love, is the use of that little reality ripple. Like, it does feel like a very Matrixy thing, that first there's a wave would go across the space before the things shatter. But you look at matter, like, and you hit things, there's that a little bit of that wobble. In super slow motion. I think for it to be as slow for that to show up, it would be like unbearably slow to watch the helicopter hit the thing. So they kind of have to like meet it somewhere in the middle. So it's kind of unclear if that's a slow motion effect or not. Oh, that's okay. If you need the timer, we're hour 52 into the film. You first, Morpheus. You've already almost died today. That guy's like, holy shit. And then the machines are like, a human being has seen it. Send the program. I love you. This is such a, like, you cannot do this back on the ship. I guess I have to recharge. Tell him on the ship. I truly do not know what she's gonna say, unless she's like, I have to fall in love with you. I'm pretty sure she's not like, I don't love you. It is interesting that he shot through the part of the phone that you take the intake for the ear, which puts stuff out, as opposed to the microphone part that puts stuff in. You would think that's the part that would pull you into the matrix, but I don't know. Maybe the phone has to have both parts. If you break one, you break the other.
It did seem like the animation, though, it started at the ear. So I think, like, hearing the real world
Right.
signal, maybe the animation did start from the ear.
It's closer to the brain, but I just feel like the way phones are constructed. You're empty. So agents, though the agents can kind of, their special powers that they can go from person to person, but they are still kind of bound within the rules of the real world. They got like heightened strength and stuff, and they can dodge bullets. So just kidding, they aren't entirely bound by the rules. But they can't do like super jumps, you know. There's certain limits to what they are able to do as programs. They do not have Agent Smith power as far as Agent Smith is in the sequels. Because ultimately what the agents are is they are an artificial intelligence. They're going to get better at fighting because Neo is so good at fighting. This is where they become ultimately matched. Because Neo can take in the information and process it. He is the only human being that can defeat the artificial intelligence that we are see run amok in Agent Smith.
I love that. Hit him in the throat with the finger extension.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's no way Hugo Weaving also did not do the stunts in this. Two icons. Go off, Kings. Oh, my name is Neo. Sorry. Yes, I totally spaced on that one. I was busy thinking about him getting hit by the train. Yep. There you go. Tally's up to 8, but I was not looking for other moments in the other fights. Mr. Wizard. See, these are some of the agents that did get killed earlier in the bullet fight. So we know that the program just reboots. That's just hitting close on the program. The computer's going to open that right back up. It's going to have to restart somewhere else because now that host is gone, but the program is still, it's sucked out of there before the body is shut down, I think. Okay, clock's on now. Tank ready at the Sentinels. Hey, folks, I saw we got one more person than before. If you're just joining us, we're watching The Matrix. We are 2 hours and 1 minute and 46 seconds into the film. So there's probably about a little 10 to 15 left for the final climactic moment. Neo is running from the agents. He's trying to get back to the ship. The Sentinels are closing in. They're currently using their lasers to drill holes in the Nebuchadnezzar to get to Morpheus and Trinity and Tank and Neo. They're pulling apart the thing. They're breaching the hull of the ship. It's only a matter of time before they find the room. Okay, here we are. This is where it comes back. This is where it comes back to when the Oracle said, maybe in your next life. In your next life, maybe. In reference to Neo being the one. Now, this could tie into the next film. Maybe she's like, oh, not in this life, but in that one. But here, what we have is some sort of miracle. But if Neo knows that there is no spoon, he knows if he has found it fully, then he knows, if that's not air you're breathing, then the heart in this body does not need to beat for him to still be alive. That's how good Neo is. That's how good his brain is. Exactly. There are no bullets. If there's no spoon, there are no bullets. Like, you want to think it's the kiss that wakes him up. But it's really kind of a coincidence. His brain is just really good. The kiss is really nice. It's nice that it happened. It's not the reason that Neo comes back to life. But clearly he does like being domed, because she says, now get up to him like that in the real world. And he gets up and he's like, yeah, motherfucker, I will. That's what love is. And here he's stopping the bullets. Iconic. No one has stopped bullets like this before this moment in 1999. Ding. Clinkety ding ding ding. Great sound design there that they just make the sound like you're dropping Tic Tacs on the floor. Like their bullets mean nothing. He can see it. He can see the programming. He is reborn. It is the next life. And now he knows. He's smarter than the algorithm. He's better. Look, now he's just showing off. Boom. Here is where it's different. Oh, incredible kick. No other agent dies like this. And we know that when the agents die, their programming does not turn them off. They reset. Which is why Smith comes back in the next movie. But something about what Neo does there alters his programming. And that's why he comes back as a virus and not as a pure program. Because he has altered the programming within. He has gone inside Agent Smith, changed his program to make him explode. And so now when he reboots, his programming is different. He's not constantly exploding. He is something else. That's actually really cool animation. I would love to go back and look at that, like frame by frame of those shots of them hitting the EMP, the EMF thing, whichever it is. One turns off all computers, and the other will let you detect ghosts. I think the EMP turns off the technology. The EMF is the ghost machine. It's possible to get these wires crossed at 11:21 on a Thursday evening. This is where they're like, by the way, there could be a sequel if you're good. You're afraid of us. There you go. Trans people at cis people. Yes. Without cis people. 10, 11, 12. And then here we go. The final one. The final marker on our list. Like I said before, 13. And maybe the number's off. I did forget to keep track for a little bit there. But here we are, the final point. The last bit of trans allegory in the matrix. Confirmation. Flight. That's been The Matrix by the Wachowski sisters. Would be a good thing for Warner Brothers to maybe go in there and update these credits. I know it's possible because they did it with, they're doing it with all of Elliot Page's credits. So maybe do that before you put the 4th movie out. I think that'd be a cool move. Anyway, this has been The Matrix, Strange Times in You with Cliff McAllister. I, of course, have been your host, Cliff McAllister, the Czar of the Bizaare. Thanks for watching The Matrix 1999 with us. Join us in October. We will be watching Matrix Reloaded then. Quickly before we go. All right, you type your thing. I'm going to keep vamping. There's no show next week. I'm going on vacation next week. So there's no show. But the week after that, we'll be right back here. Opening the phone lines, taking your calls. It's almost October. It's almost spooky season. And we've got a live show coming up at the end of the month. Cliff and Steven, what would your Matrix outfits be? I don't know for sure, but it would include these glasses. It would include these glasses for sure. I'd figure out the rest. Some cool leather skirt or something. Obviously, it's got to be leather. That's like a rule. Although Morpheus is wearing some kind of like lizard suit.
I feel like I might have a mullet in the Matrix.
Oh,
but
yeah?
My outfit, I typically dress tacky. Like I've got like a tacky aesthetic.
Sure.
But in the Matrix everyone looks badass.
Yeah, you have to have a cool look.
Like if you're a Vulcan person and you're going in the Matrix. So like
that's why I still have to have these glasses.
I'm sure I'd look razor sharp, but yeah, like just like you might have the glasses.
You can go in and you can be whatever you want. And they're just like, this is what's cool for us, is this vibe.
There'd be one thing like that stands outside of the like looking sharp. Mm-hmm. I'd probably want to wear all white, but I might be not special enough to wear all white, but like be like all black. But there'd be like one article of clothing that just like didn't quite fit that sleek and crisp aesthetic.
Steven, there's no special enough in the Matrix. Whatever you want to be in the Matrix, that's what you get to be. If you want to wear a white suit, you don't have to worry about not being special enough. You are special enough.
Oh, no, I've got it.
Yeah.
I would be wearing a crisp black tux, and I would fit in with all the badasses, except for my underwear would be on the outside.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just be like, oh, wait, what? Yeah. And a mullet.
I feel like you gotta use like some sort of like you tweak the programming because it's like with Morpheus's glasses that just stay on, but you tweak the programming, you get like a cool skirt that is also like lightweight and has pockets for all your guns.
And it's razor sharp, so if you twirl, you can cut people.
Yeah. There you go. All right, well, there it is. I think, consider that for your fan art. and we'll think about that even more in time for the next one. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. So this has been Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Join us right back here in 2 weeks. Join us here tomorrow night at 8:30 for the Comedy Pigs on twitch.tv/Comedy Night. They're performing live at the Maryland Ensemble Theater, but they're also performing live here on Twitch from the Maryland Ensemble Theater in front of a live audience. So you can be a part of that audience by going there, or you can come right back here and watch it there. So those are your options. Check that out. Join us there. Also, keep in mind, support us on Patreon, patreon.com/strangetimesindeed. Last week, we took a fall and we broke this dongle. But because we've got people who support us on Patreon, and when I say we took a fall, I mean the computer fell and landed on the dongle. So the computer broke, but the dongle took the bullet. But we got a new one. And we can afford to get new ones because people back us on the Patreon, and you can too. Well, here's some bonus things that we're going to have on there. I've been playing a little bit of No Man's Sky. I've been traveling through the cosmos, and so I've started making a journal of my adventures. And so that's a blank page, but there are other pages. Look, this is a bad example, but there's other stuff happening. So you can actually get a good look at that by backing us on Patreon. I'm going to be uploading stuff there. And then you can join me in the cosmos if you have an Xbox or whatever. I'm not sure how the game works, if there's crossplay or something. It's logistics. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for commenting, watching The Matrix with us. And Stephen, thanks so much for doing the show as always. And thanks for teching for the Comedy Pigs. Tomorrow, we'll see you right back here or right over there or something. Until next week, this has been, or at least until 2 weeks from now, this has been Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. I've been your host, Cliff McAllister, the Czar of the Bizaare. Tune in 2 weeks and share your encounters with the unexplained. Until then, stay strange, terrestrials.